Well, that was an interesting game. Deja vu, anybody? Goddamn. Like, seriously. That was the most deja vu game I've seen from the Jets in a very long time, because it literally was almost a year to this day. The Jets lost 7-1 Thanksgiving weekend to Minnesota, in Minnesota. Now they lose 6-1 on November 23rd, 2022, like a year, like just shy of a year later. Ugh, this game was ugly. Ugly game. Ugly game. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to Recap Reactions for what game? 18, I believe. This is now out of 82 for the Jets 2022-2023 campaign. Jets lose 6-1. Yay. Woo! Fun times ahead. Subscribe if you're already new, if you're new, and God, I don't want to talk about this game. It was ugly. I bet you're all feeling the exact same way I do right now. Like, I want to yell, but at the same time, that was just like so pathetic. It ain't even worthy of a yell. Like, oh my God. Like, I feel like a parent. Just, I'm just disappointed in you. And those words should be harsher on the Jets than anything, because that was an utter disappointment of a game and an embarrassment. My God. A lot of stuff in this game. Now, I think what this game encapsulates the most, more than anything about the Jets this season right now, isn't poor play, isn't this, that, inconsistency. It's none of that. It's actually the fact that injuries have plagued this team, and they have made up for it with some clutch performances and some lucky, timely wins. Is that saying the Jets are bad? No. Is it saying they're overrated? No. I think the Jets are fairly rated and they should be where they are in the standings right now. I've liked their games this year. I've liked this season as a whole so far. I think it's been pretty good so far. What this game sends to me is that the future is going to be very bleak if management doesn't wake up and get those phones going, because it's time to make some moves. Tonight was the most evident thing of that I've seen all season long. Now, you could have been on the fence before tonight's game about, injuries and making trades and waiting past the 25-game mark and blah, 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 and even into the new year potentially. I understand that. Now, if we're talking about, like, big trades and shakeups, then yeah, I can see that, but this is just about adding because you have nowhere else to go. Like, Mikey Eyssimont has looked great, don't get me wrong, but how much more depth do you have on the Moose that you can call up? What, we're going to give Brad Lambert a top 6 role and hope to God that works? Because I don't really think that's a smart, viable option. Even though I'd love to see Brad Lambert play a couple games, he's not ready for the NHL yet. And maybe you could get a couple games out of him to fill the need right now if he played well. But even then, you got to be holding a really good hand and betting everything on that, because you got to make trades now. You are going into a very, very tough road trip right now that could devastate the Jets in the standings. Now, don't get me wrong. They're still 11-5 and 1, if I'm not mistaken, if that's the current this rate standings that NHL.com is showing me right now. So I'm going to pull them up just to be safe, because you know me, like to make sure I'm correct about this. But yeah, the Jets are 11-6 and 1 still right now. Good record. That's not a bad record by any means. They're sitting right now tied for second in the Central with the Avalanche. Dallas sits with 25 points, but they've also got one more game on hand on the. The Jets have a game in hand on them, so right now it's very tight, very close. And the Jets' next games are going to be tough. You play Dallas, the Blackhawks, the Avalanche, the Jackets, the Ducks, the Panthers, and the Blues, and then the Blackhawks again before you finally get out of the West. Well, obviously there's that game in there with either. You know what I mean, though. Tough opponents still. A lot of central matchups. That's going to affect the standings. That's not good. You got to make trades now. It's as simple as it comes down to you. When you look at tonight, the Jets get outplayed in the first completely. Just giveaways, turnovers, just not a good game. Top 6 just looks incomplete out there. I like Sam Gagner a lot, and I think he's been very serviceable. But again, my biggest problem with Gagner getting more playing time was the fact that he's going to have the Wheeler effect. He is going to be slow out there. He's got some age. He's not going to be able to keep up with guys like Kyle Connor and Mark Scheifele, and we've seen that. They've been slowed down recently in the last couple of games. Now, I know Kyle Connor is just heating up with the goals. I get that. He'd only scored the only one tonight, and it was a beauty. But that doesn't change the fact that you can't rely just on those guys all the time to make every play. They need support. How many times have we seen Gagner get fed really good shot passes from Scheifele, or even Connor for that matter, and then just have weak, lame attempts that are in a no-danger spot that get saved easily? That's not going to win you hockey games. And I like Sam Gagner, and he's going to continue to play well on this team. But again, roles are what matters. When you go back and look at what the Jets' biggest problem was defensively, and you look at Josh Morrissey, for example, as a prime example of this, their biggest problem was they were slowing down their top guys by putting shit players up there with them. Now, don't get me wrong. These guys are still NHL players, and I like Nathan Beaulieu, and I like Tucker Pullman, but not as top pairing number 1 guys. If Josh Morrissey is your number 1 and Tucker Pullman's your number 2 for half the season, that doesn't scream playoffs to me. I'm sorry. And that's the exact same thing we're seeing happen right now. And it's been happening for a while, but we've been winning, and tonight's a prime example of it. You're not going to win hockey games unless you make some adjustments right now, because you've already went down to the Moose well as deep as you can go, honestly. And how much deeper can you go before the Moose start to drop off terribly? It affects the development of your prospects because there's nobody there that's even competent enough to play in the AHL barely. What happens then? Well, Kevin Stenlund's going to be the next guy to jump up? I don't think that's a very viable option again, because you already have 5 Kevin Stenlunds on the lineup right now. Now, I think that Kevin Stenlund could play on the Jets right now. Don't get me wrong. At the same time, he's not going to be any much better than what Sacramento Line is, or what Axel Filjalbi. I'm going to butcher his name for the end of time. Doesn't matter. But still, like, these guys are good energy players, good depth guys that are cheap, affordable, and do their jobs well. At the same time, they're not putting up scoring numbers right now, and you need that. And these guys as well aren't going to put up scoring numbers in Stenlund either, and any other guys on the Moose. You got to go out there and make some trades. Ehlers is going to be out for 8 more weeks, and I do not want to watch this top 6 continue to operate the way it is, with the way it is. Like, no other reason than that. It's not going to work. It's not sustainable. The Jets are still a good team. They're just bitten by the injury bug right now, terribly bad. And you gotta adjust. Now, I don't know who you move out. I don't want to see Villahinola get traded. I think that would be a big mistake, especially right now, just to add. At the same time, you've got some interesting moves right now in pieces. You've got younger guys that are showing to have a lot of prospect right now. You've got guys like Declan Chisholm that have some value that are okay, but again, like the teams you're talking about, how interested they're going to be. I know Sandberg's got some value. Like, there are guys with value that you can package up with something and move on just for something tolerable. Move a first if you have to. Honestly, this team could probably use a trade to add a top 6 winger right now anyway, and get him under contract, hopefully, if you're lucky. You know, I don't know if Brock Besser's willing to sign long-term, as I should say. I don't even know if he is signed long-term. I can never remember Brock Besser's cap contract. I'd have to look that up real quick. Cap-friendly Canucks. Let's see what happens. But still, like, you know, let's talk about the Canucks, for example, because we're going down that route. I think the Canucks would be a very good team to trade with right now if you are the Winnipeg Jets, because the Canucks have a lot of guys that are, you know, linked to the market right now. I would think that a Brock Besser would be great right now at 2 more years after this year at $6.5 million. I know he gets injured and has some problems like that, and is similar to Ehlers, but again, if he can, I think he'd be a good addition to this team. Connor Garland, $4.95 million for the next few years. Don't get me wrong, 3 more years after this year, but I think Connor Garland could really re-spark his career again and play good hockey with the Jets. He's a very, very, skilled, smaller forward that can get in the tight areas and get gritty goals, and he's got a lot of skill on the offensive side of the ice, and I think he could really fit well with the way the Winnipeg forwards center the puck and play in the corners and the type of passers they have around them. Can you imagine the passes you'd be able to get from Connor Garland to Cole Perfetti? You throw in Pierre-Luc Dubois in there with some physicality and some good, tough centermen there that can play and skate, that draws penalties and plays well. That's an okay line. Those are 2 guys on the same team that you could theoretically make a trade for because they're on the market. So I'm not saying go out there and trade the kitchen everything in the cabinet to bring in these guys, but get those phones going, Chevy. If you need to move out Brendan Dillon, even though I liked Brendan Dillon this season, you can do that. Brendan Dillon, all he does is fight and have some heart. But Nate Schmidt provides heart. You got a lot of guys on this team that provide heart, and I don't think Brendan Dillon will be the biggest loss to the room right now. So, make some moves. That's what this comes down to. Tonight's game was terrible. There's no good talking points about it, other than the Kyle Connor goal that I mentioned. Great play, great whatever. But again, how much can I talk about how, the Jets did this and that or whatever? There were little things sprinkled out within this, as you could probably pick up if you watched the whole thing. But what it comes down to is there was nothing the Jets could have done tonight to play better hockey. Like, they were just bad. Everything they did was bad. Like, Connor Hellebuck made some bad calls, some bad saves. He's got hung out to dry. I don't blame him for this loss. I blame the entire team equally. This game was pathetic. And it was sad to watch, because it's like, okay, can they continue to survive with injuries? Can they keep going that way? Ehlers is out. Appleton is out. Barron's coming back, but has been out for almost the whole season. I can't even remember all the forwards that you have out right now, and all the other guys you got out. DeMello is out too. Stanley's still injured. The list goes on. So many injuries. Got to make some moves, because Blake Wheeler struggled tonight and has struggled in the season, but has still played pretty good hockey. But again, you're going to get that from a guy that's 36 years old. He's not going to be some dynamite consistent player out there. He'll be okay and good and solid, but he's not going to be a legit top 6 forward that can play consistent hockey in every matchup. He's not going to be the same guy every game, because he can't keep up anymore. That's okay. He's still a good player, but you got to adjust the way the top 6 playing right now, shuffle things around, if you're not going to make any trades right now, I want to see the lines completely change. I want to see Axel Fajal be on the first line. I want to see the guys that can skate the fastest and get into the gritty areas. I want to completely change the way that the lines operate right now. That's what I would do, because they're still good, the lines, and the system we have will work when we get healthy again. But you got to adapt right now, because tonight showed that this Central road trip is going to be tough. And going against the Stars on Friday, the Blackhawks on Sunday, and then Tuesday going against the Avalanche, those 3 games right there, that could be huge in the standings. And if you drop all 3 of those and you have a 4-game skid, that would be catastrophic for the standings early on right now. I want the Jets to maintain where they are right now, and I think they can, even with injuries. But you got to make some moves if you're management. And bonus, you've got the team right where you need them to be. Just adjust a little bit. I believe in what you're doing, but I think that with injuries, they've just forced your hand to adjust right now. That's as simple as it is. I think this team has a lot left to give, but right now they're not going to be able to do their best and play meaningful hockey and win games unless something changes a little bit up front, because the injuries are killing. These guys can't play the way they need to play at times, and as a complete unit right now at the plugins, I don't like it. So let me know what your thoughts are down in the comment section below. As always, if you agree with me, what players you'd like to see potentially be added to the Winnipeg Jets in a trade. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts down that in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, check out all the other links down in the description below. Subscribe if you're new, turn on notifications if you haven't already. Peace, love, and positivity as always. Go Jets, go! I will see you guys